We're talking reaching our community in ways other than just the Sunday invite on the Church Revitalization Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Church Revitalization Podcast, brought to you by the Malphurs Group team, where each week we tackle important, actionable topics to help churches thrive. And now, here's your hosts, Scott Ball and A.J. Mathieu.
Welcome aboard the Church Revitalization Podcast. My name is Scott Ball. I'm joined by my friend and co-host, A.J. Mathieu. Welcome on to the show.
Glad to be aboard.
Okay, so we're talking about sometimes, depending on where you're at in the world, people are more or less apt to respond to an invitation to Sunday morning. Okay, so there are places where you can live where people would not be offended by such an invitation. But there are other places where people would go, oh man, I wouldn't be caught dead at a church on a Sunday morning. And so if you would like to reach new people, then that's maybe not the best initial kind of front door, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
You want to maybe invite them into something that's more of a side door that is maybe less formal and maybe more relational and less of like oh man, I'm committed to being at a church on Sunday. Actually, I saw a reel a couple weeks ago on Instagram that it was like a person. It was a lady who has a daughter who I guess I'm guessing that maybe the kid goes to like a church preschool or something like that, and the kid has been asking the mom to go to church. And so the mom was kind of filming herself like, okay, I'm going to church this Sunday and I'm extremely nervous. But like my kid really wants to go. So we're going to go. And she's like hyping herself up. And I think it's easy for us to forget like what it's like to be a person who hasn't gone in a long time or has never really gone, and just maybe all the anxiety that they might feel about showing up at a church on a Sunday morning. And so sometimes it's good to maybe have some side door things that might be less stressful or less, I don't know, intimidating than Sunday morning.
Yeah. This does have a couple of different maybe points of view. Our episode really is largely about kind of this corporate point of view that when the church is the one making the invitation sort of corporately or officially, but as an individual, that your relationship with somebody will have different weight, depending on the nature of the relationship, and just inviting them to church might be the absolute perfect thing to do.
Yeah. Right.
Or you individually inviting them to one of the three things we're going to talk about today could also be good. But our focus, our point of view today is more so the kind of the corporate public invitation that might be happening as a part of, and hopefully as a part of, a guest connection or a visitor connection process that you have in your church. Yep. Let's start there, Scott, because,
hold on a minute. Before you do that, we have something that we would like to invite listener to do.
You should talk about that.
I think you should go to healthychurchestoolkit.com. We would love to invite you to 7 free days of access by going to healthychurchestoolkit.com. We mentioned this last week, but there is a side door to the toolkit.
That's true. There is a side door,
which is to go to malphursgroup.com/CMA, sign up for that. And when you're going through the church ministry analysis process, you actually get 3 months of access at a steep discount. So that's the front door is healthychurchestoolkit.com, 7 days free, or the side door, malphursgroup.com/CMA. You get 3 months of access when you sign up for that process.
That is a side door. Don't tell anybody about that.
Yeah.
Because then we'll go hungry. We don't want that either. Okay. All right. Side door. Yeah. So I had started before I was so rudely interrupted.
Sorry.
I was talking about the point of view. Yeah. So now I remember. You need, if your church doesn't have a process for engaging with visitors. Now this is somebody that I'm talking about, the scenario in which someone has come to your church. They're a guest. Mm-hmm. They hopefully fill out a guest connection card. And then they're in this pipeline invitation process to hopefully build a relationship with them. That's the point, building a relationship with them that would lead to them, becoming a part of the fellowship. But in having something to invite them to is something that we coach all churches on. And it should be something other than simply a postcard like, hope you come back to church sometime. That's ultimately what we want, but we really want to build a relationship. And these three things that we're doing they could fit into that for sure. So,
but also they could be a person's first entry, like a first experience.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of the heart of this, is going, hey,
yeah,
they often don't. Their first encounter may not be Sunday.
That's right. Yep. This is about the church, breaking outside of the walls of the church. So let's get into it. The first side door that we're going to talk about are community events or services that your church would be engaged in that are really that they're trying to serve people in a way and initiate or continue building a relationship with them, which is what, the church is all about, is just building relationships with people. And so, yeah, this could come in many, many forms. But yeah, I mean, churches do events all the time. This could be, the fall festival or, summer kickoff event, even something like VBS. When we start talking about maybe more one-on-one things, this could be your food bank, clothing banks, could be your ESL classes. Yeah, anything like that. Financial Peace University, something that you can engage the public, the non-members of your church, to try to build relationships with people outside of the church. These are excellent, excellent ways to get people in. It can even be something maybe this slightly more removed, but something that an organization. Well, are we going to talk about that? No, we're not. I don't think that's later in a point. I don't want to step on our own toes here, but some kind of scouts or other community organization.
We are talking about this later.
Oh, we are? Okay. All right. Then we'll get into that more later. But yeah, so I've already given several examples. But yeah, something that is beyond what the church does on a Sunday that we can be able to introduce, shake a hand, and learn a name.
Yeah, and I think the important thing here is to serve first and sell nothing. So, I mean, I think that just being there to help and it not being immediately followed up with, and here's an invite card to Sunday, is important. Or even, I mean, maybe go so far as don't wear the church t-shirt. Just do the thing, because the thing we're trying to do is build a relationship, not build the brand. So, when you start stripping away things like the invite card or the t-shirt, at least maybe even if your church is sort of new to this, maybe do those things early on. We're not gonna wear the shirt. We're not gonna do that, because we want to build this culture or this attitude that the thing I'm relying on is not the document in my hand or the thing that I'm wearing, but the words of encouragement and the relationship that I'm building. So, sell nothing and just and do good and start. No strings attached, just serving people. We always think of Acts 2:47, where it's like
you're tracking with my brain on this one,
you're
buddy.
Growing in favor with all the people. I think that's a good gut check question. Are we growing in favor with all the people or not? And if we're not, it might be because we're so insulated, everything's inside our four walls. We don't even know the people. So. A practical tip here, just as a starting point: identify one felt need. We've talked about in your zip code. We've talked about this a lot in previous episodes, but I think a mistake that a lot of churches make is how quick they are to jump to something generic. Like they go straight to food pantry, or they go straight to food drive, or they go straight to trunk or treat with this, and it's like, well, hold on, is this an actual need in our zip code or not? And it might be, and if it is, do it. Go ahead. But in a lot of zip codes we work in, they're doing a food pantry, and I'm looking around like all the houses in this neighborhood are $750,000. Like, these people are there. That is not the need in this zip code. So what would be the need in this zip code?
Yeah.
And taking some time and actually thinking about that versus making an assumption on what it is that you should do.
Yep. Very good. All right. Second side door is having a presence in third place places, places where people are hanging out. Yeah, just being able to be there. I mean, actually, this goes beyond this, but I mean, there's been a lot of successful church plants that started, in third place things. I mean, meeting for Bible studies in places outside of the church. So that's more of an intense strategy, but just being available. In fact, I don't know if I'll have any of them.
I was going to ask you if you still have any.
Are
left.
you thinking about the stickers?
Yeah, I am. I am.
I used to have them within reach here. I don't think I have them anymore.
Do we still have them?
Yeah, we've got them. We've got them still. Yeah, gosh, can I find them? I don't know. Yeah, we had
we've got
some stickers.
Bummer. I wish you had one that you could show to folks.
I'll get it included in on this week's article. I'll have a link to it. We had some stickers made that you could put on your laptop. This is for pastors. Some little round stickers you can put on your laptop, and I think they were safe as well. Safe to peel off. They're not going to leave.
They're not going to ruin your device. No.
Paper and sticky all over your MacBook. But it said need prayer. What did it say? Need prayer. Pulpit chair. I'm a pastor.
Yeah. I'm a pastor. Need prayer, pulpit chair, something like
that. I'll put them in this week's.
Do we still have a form for that?
We probably do. Yeah,
I think so. Well, if we still have supply, maybe we can link that in the episode.
Yeah, we do. I know I still have some here somewhere. I don't think we're going to get a rush on them and have 500 orders. So.
Oh no, we'll have to order more. That'd be a good problem if we had so many people who wanted one.
Yeah, but the point was, you go to a third space, have a presence there. I mean, if you're able to go, work on something, or maybe take some meetings from a coffee shop or library or somewhere else. You got a sticker on your computer, and people are like, is that a pastor over there? I would like to talk to that guy.
Yeah. Oftentimes too, it's interesting. I've been at this long enough and have my own haunts of places that, many times it isn't even just like it could be a patron who's coming in who notices this, but often it's the staff.
Yeah.
When you become a regular someplace, you start to get to know every single person who works there. And when they have a problem or when they're having a struggle, or they're looking for someone to talk to because something's hard's going on, the odds are good that they'd want to come talk to you because they see you 3 times a week, coming in there and being a good. I guess that goes without saying then that if you're going to do that, like clean up after yourself, tip, be
a good guest.
Yeah, be a good guest. Yeah, exactly. But it'd be great if this extended beyond the pastor, and that I think we're all guilty of this. I certainly am. Where you just get so like in your nose down and in the grind, you're just not seeing people anymore, and kind of encouraging building a culture where people are present where they are. If they're working, just try to have an awareness around you. And I'm not great at this, so not saying I got that one down. But and rather than just again, the idea is getting out rather than staying in. The win is not how many times people show up at your building each week, but how present you are in the community.
Yeah. Okay. Our third side door is what I started to talk about earlier, but partnerships with organizations that you could utilize, either maybe doing something with them still outside the church or utilizing your building. We've had a previous episode about that, even utilizing your building for things besides Sunday, and sometimes having people come in. That I don't know. It's very passive. It could. There's depending on what it is, it could become more active, but even that, I think maybe even desensitizing people to your physical plant, being on your site and in the building, and of course you want to be careful about who you partner with. I mean, you want that to be an organization that you can trust and is not counter to your values and the mission of Christ. But that can be a great way though, just to get people in. And then if it's something that you even can have maybe more of a relationship with the leadership or the organization of what it is, where you as pastor or other leaders in your church could participate or at least be able to meet people and interact. Bonus.
Yeah. I think that there are places and groups and things that your people or your community already trust. And when you can link up to that, I mean, we could have said this on the previous one, you may have, but even simple things like partner with your the PTA. It's interesting. It seems like depending on the school, like things are about teacher appreciation. Like some churches are really good about this, and trust me, my wife's an educator, and like they pay attention to the churches that show up on Teacher Appreciation Week and like provide a breakfast, or they do something special, whatever. Those kinds of things they pay attention to. They go, oh man, this place showed up for educators, or partnering with the Little League. See how many of the guys, rather than do your church league softball, like how many of the people in your church who love sports could get involved in your local Parks and Rec league as coaches and start building relationships with family that way. Like I think that people sometimes put these things in different categories in their head. Like I've got the things I would do to help my community, and then I have church, and like just trying to shift that mindset. No. Things that you would maybe already do. You've already got a kid who would want to be involved in Little League. Go that extra step and be a coach. If you have the skill set for that. Not everybody. You wouldn't want me coaching your kids any sport because I'm not good at any sport. But if you're good at sports and your kid's going to be in Little League, like there's nothing wrong. Like I'm not trying to hate AJ on what's the Upward sports thing. Like it's fine. It's good. I'm not hating on Upward. But like
you're not trying to hate. You were speaking to me. Not trying to hate AJ is the way you phrase that. So you.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, I got it.
I don't hate AJ.
You're not trying to hate on Upward.
I'm not trying to hate on Upward.
Okay.
But once again, Upward is a thing that's like it's at your church, and people kind of perceive that as not a community thing. Like it's like it's Little League for people who will go to church. I'm suggesting it would be better to not do that. I'm suggesting it would be better to partner with the Parks and Rec Little League. Be involved there.
Gotcha.
Be a light there.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Agree? Disagree? No?
Yeah. I mean, I guess that could. Yeah. I see your point.
Push back on that.
I see. I see your point. Yeah. So I think, yes, perhaps sometimes these Christian organizations, they become known like, oh, that's a Christian organization. And it's just all you're going to do.
Like it's the alternative to the real thing.
Yeah. You're going to collect Christians from other churches that are going to come do it because your church decided to do it.
It's almost always exactly that.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. That could be true. Yeah. Cause I mean, I was going to mention, like in scouting, our family was really engaged with Trail Life USA, our boys, which is basically an alternative to Boy Scouts. It's a Christian oriented scouting organization. And then the girl version of that is American Heritage Girls. So yeah, I guess maybe I don't have a good feel for, how well that would reach, non-Christian families.
Yeah. I would. Yeah. And I get it. Like every family has to kind of figure out where they're going to draw lines and where sometimes participating in the alternative thing is worth it versus not. And I think certainly something like scouting where there's overnight trips and things like that, you might go, this is an area where we're going to draw a line. So I'm not criticizing in principle. I'm just saying in some instances it might be good to partner with the mainstream thing to be a light there versus trying to isolate out and separate from the
Yeah. I mean, there certainly are. I mean, families definitely exist when it comes to like kid things that though they may not be active in a church, they do still have at least like a respect for Christian values, and they want their children to be engaged in things that are going to have a level of morality and value. And so there, I think there still exists an opportunity, and probably you do find families getting their kids engaged in things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I guess I just think the broader point would be there are a lot of people who do a lot of good things. A lot of people in your church who do a lot of good things in the community and aren't even thinking about that through the lens of, oh, I can be on mission here.
Mm-hmm.
And just transforming the culture of your church in such a way that people don't think of these as separate things, or like I have to sign up for the church approved, opportunity to do this thing in my community. Instead go, okay, no, this thing I'm already doing in my community with an organization that our community trusts, I can be on mission there.
Yeah. I mean, that is certainly, I mean, that is a major takeaway to remember. I mean, the point of discipleship in our churches should be to mature believers to become disciple makers. And that means most of their opportunity is going to be not with some church sponsored thing. So,
Or should be.
Yeah, should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we want people that, out of the overflow of faith in their life and their relationship with Christ, they're ambassadors for Jesus in the church, and that they're speaking about that no matter where they are, and can be intentional in every space that they're engaged in. So yeah, that's the ultimate win right there. So yeah, we are talking about some kind of formal setup, corporate type things here, but the ultimate win is much more powerful.
Yeah. So maybe just to recap, the first thing would be events that you organize or services, like I think something that's like a class or something might be more of a service than an event. But events or services that serve first and sell nothing. These are things that the church itself organizes for the benefit of the community. That's side door number one. Side door number two is kind of activating your people to be present in third places, and this starts with the pastor. If you're every week you're kind of just holed up in your office, get out of the office some, at least maybe 1 or 2 days a week. Just even go work somewhere else and begin building relationships that way. And AJ is gonna hopefully we still have some stickers, and if you want a sticker, sign up to get one. If we have it, it'll be in the article. And then the third one is developing partnerships. This can be formal or informal, but being active with organizations your community already trusts. And, and I would suggest you could have a certain number of approved partners, like where you go, we have a formal relationship or partnership with this organization or that organization. But you could encourage the people in your church to be thinking of this, even in the ones that you don't have a formal relationship with. So maybe you don't have a formal relationship with your local Parks and Rec. But if you've got people in your church who are involved in that, they're already involved in Little League, they're already involved in these things, encourage them to think of these opportunities as mission fields, and opportunities to be on mission and not just like a thing that their family does, which is a different way of thinking, and not always easy to do because people just can tend to compartmentalize and go, this is church thing and this is life thing, and never the twain shall meet. But that's something we want to begin to think differently about.
Yes, indeed, Scott Ball. Thank you for that recap. It's a good thing to think about. It's a good thing to think about. So do that. Break out of where you are. Let's think of creative ways that we can engage the world around us, and get the gospel into the ears of people that need to hear it. Thanks for being with us this week on the Church Revitalization Podcast. Scott and I will be back next week.